Hello champions and future champions, hello ChessMood family. GM Gabuzyan is here with you, and in this video we are going to be covering daily lessons for the February. So here you will get provided with the answers on the test for the daily lessons. Let's go ahead and get started. In this position guys, you are seeing a daily lesson for battery in chess counterattack. Here is black to move. Obviously, white is attacking our king, so we need to create something over white king as well. And for this reason, we need to activate our queen. The best way is going to be to play queen d8 with the tempo attacking the rook. And after rook g3, we are playing queen to f6. Now our very strong battery is created, so we are making a huge pressure on b2 pawn. If white is going here in knight d1, we can be taking on c2, and after takes rook c2 and king c2, we are playing queen e5, double attacking rook and the pawn. And after rook e3, we are taking gf5. We're going to be having queen versus the two rooks, but on top of that we will get many pawns and white king will be weakened very much. So it's going to be more than enough for black to have a great position. If after queen f6, white is trying to protect this pawn with a knight, let's say knight c4 is losing immediately, because we can take just rook c4, and now checkmate on b2 is coming. So for this reason, this queen d8 and queen f6 idea is very strong, guys. And creating this battery, black is finding a very strong counterattack on white king. Let me now change the position for you. This position, guys, is a test for bishop pair transitioning to an endgame. In this position, white is having two bishops advantage. And I am sure many of you found a very simple idea of trading of the queens. The value of queen f5 move is the following. After takes, bishop f5 and king d8, white is going to be able to activate the king to the center. As black is having a pawn on the h file, with our bishops, we are going to be making pressure on the h file and as well the queenside pawns of black. And as black is having the knight, black will have issues of protecting both sides of the board at the same time. As well, guys, as you know, in the end games, when we're having bishop pair, king is becoming very strong, and whenever we activate it to the center, we will be able to limit this knight's abilities as well. So for this reason, on the first move, white is playing with queen f5, guys, and trading of the queens. Let me now again change position for you. This is the test for a daily lesson helping bishop pair. We're having two bishops for black in this situation, but we need to open them up because pawn on e4 is slightly limiting our bishop abilities on b7. So black here is playing very simple d5 move. The idea is just to open up position a little more and as well activate our bishops. The thing is that white here even is not able to take, because after takes we're playing rook takes e1, and after takes knight on d4 is hanging, so we can take the knight. For this reason, after d5, white is just going bishop to b3, and after rook e4 and d4, black is as well gaining a pawn, but also activating the bishop. In future, maybe some e3 kind of move will be possible as well, and we will be opening this bishop even more. It depends on our opponent's actions as well. So guys, again, let me change this position for you. This is a test position for daily lesson defensive exchanges. In this position, black is aiming for our king with the queen and some other pieces as well. So we need to do something about it. Right now there are no concrete threats, but with some bishop g4 move, or let's say maybe knight g5, some threats on h2 will become available. So, obviously for white, we need to start trading off some important pieces. In the first position, we're taking bishop c6. And it's the thing that knight on c6 wasn't a great attacking piece. But knight on c6 was controlling the e5 square. And our idea is that after b takes c6, we're playing now bishop e5. So there is no longer knight on c6 and this move is becoming available. For this reason, after queen e7, we're able to take bishop takes, queen takes, and play something like queen d4. We managed to exchange this very strong attacking piece which was bothering our king a lot, and now we're not gonna be facing any dangerous threats for black. For this reason, on the first move, white is taking with bishop c6 and later on playing with bishop e5. If after bishop c6, black is playing queen takes c6, we are going to be able to play rook c1. Now there is no longer queen d6 available because we can play bishop e5. So that's why black is going queen d7, and now we are going to be creating threats on our own, playing queen d4. As queen is no longer on d6, threats to our king are not dangerous, and instead of trading this bishop off, we are trying to use our bishop and create some threats over the black king, guys. Let me now again change this position for you. This is a test, guys, for daily lesson defensive sacrifices. In this position, as you have seen, black king is in a very difficult spot and white will be creating many threats related to rook f1 check. As well, black will find some difficulties running with king to the queen side because there are some obstacles and king will not have enough space. For example, if black is trying to play bishop e6 and run away with the king, after rook f1 check, king e7 and d5 move, black is having big problems. It's not really possible to survive. So for that reason, guys, in the first position of this example, black is playing bishop to h3. Awesome defensive sacrifice. Idea is very simple. If white is playing queen h3, black is just gonna go king to g8, and now this king is in absolute safe position. So sacrificing the bishop, black is gaining the square on g8 and getting a safety. And here after d5, black is going queen to d3, attacking those two pawns, winning back the lost pawn and having a very nice position. Or if after bishop h3, white is deciding to go rook f1 check, this time it's gonna be a little bit concrete. So after bishop f1, rook f1, king e7, queen g7 check, we're having king d6 move. First of all, there is no longer a bishop, which was an obstacle for black king, and as well our bishop was exchanged with a rook, so now instead of being piece up, black is already having extra rook. And after rook f6 check, rook e6, d5 check, black is having a very important king c5 move. The trick is that after rook e6, with queen d1 check, black is getting a perpetual check. So after king g2, black plays queen e2, and later on is giving many checks to white king, easily making a draw. This king cannot be escaping. After king h3, queen h5 is gonna be the check. So with the first beginning bishop h3 move, black is sacrificing a piece and keeping their own king in a safety. Let me now change this position for you. This is a test, guys, for a bishop pair needs air daily lesson. In this position, white is having bishop pair advantage. But as well, black is having solid position and it's not so easy to break through. Our bishop on d3 is limited by pawns on c4 and d4, and our bishop on e3 is limited by this b6 pawn. So definitely white needs more space and more air for their own bishops. And obviously the strong move here is gonna be c5. After takes, we're doing also another important thing which we've learned previously, and we're transitioning to an endgame, playing queen c5. Queen c5 and bishop c5. And after a6, we are playing king f2. Let's pay attention what we've got. Now both of our bishops are activated. We are going to be making a huge pressure on this pawn on a6. Our king is going to go to the center. With our bishop on c5, we will be bothering pawns of black on the king side. Bishop can go to d4, or if black king is trying to go to other side of the board, we can go to f8. So in different ways, we will be able to bother opponent's pawn structure. And for that reason, with the beginning c5 move and later on trading of the queens, white is getting a great advantage in this position. Let's now change the position, guys. This is a test for daily lesson exploiting hidden pins. In this position, it's white to move. We have our queen and bishop aiming for opponent's king, but there is a pawn on e5 obstacle on our way. Meanwhile, black queen and bishop are on the same line, and we are getting a very beautiful attempt of rook f4 move. The idea is very beautiful. Now we are pinning this bishop, and after h5 we are winning this bishop with the h3 move. In opposite, black cannot be taking this rook because the pin on this diagonal is unbreakable as there is a checkmate on g7 square. For this reason, black is not able to take, and after rook f4 in a very beautiful way, white is winning the bishop on g4 and is winning the game, guys. So rook f4 is the winning move. Let's now change the position. This is a test position for a daily lesson. Listen to your knights. White is having big advantage here. The reason is half pawn d-line and as well very weak pawn on d6. Black pieces are stuck defending this pawn. Meanwhile, white is having a very good opportunity to improve knight's position on f3. Obviously, there are gonna be several good squares for the knight. We can highlight d5, f5 and b5. So this means that we should be transferring our knight either to e3 or to c3. And white is starting with knight g1. As well, white could have played with knight d2, trying to play knight f1, knight e3. So knight g1, queen d7. We're playing rook b3, and after f5, going knight e2. Our knight is gonna go to c3, later on b5 or d5. This improvement is gonna be making a lot of sense because knight on b5 or d5 will be making huge pressure on black's position. So after f takes e4, we're just going knight c3 and activating our knight with big advantage for later on. So these kind of maneuvers starting with knight g1 move are very important, and if we're having a chance and time to improve our pieces like this, we definitely should be paying attention to such a maneuvers, guys. So let's now change the position and go to the next one. This is a test for daily lesson exchange the brother bishop. In this position is white to move and we have to make a choice. As from the title we are already guessing that the correct move is gonna be bishop c3. So let's take a look at the position after bishop takes c3 and knight takes c3. What has happened? We traded off pair of bishops, so black is no longer having bishop pair advantage. Secondly, we weakened a lot the dark squares. White here is planning to play e5, knight e4 and occupy the f6 square. Black bishop on c8 is very passive now, and only way to activate is gonna be d7 and c6. On top of that this diagonal will not be so important, we can also keep our pawn on e4 and which will be limiting this bishop. As well, after bishop d7 we are able to play knight e5. Again making some pressure on this piece, also preventing bishop c6 move. So with very simple technique of exchanging the brother bishop, white is getting an activity here and slightly better position. Meanwhile, if we leave both bishops on the board, they are going to be controlling many squares together. For example, if we play e5 right away and black goes bishop e7, this bishop will be successfully controlling this f6 square, which can't be now a good outpost for our knight. So guys, let's now change position again. This is a test, guys, for daily lesson keep the brother bishop. In contrast to the previous example, this time we're picking up a side with two bishops. White's last move was bishop c4. And white wants to trade off the bishops and leave us with not a great bishop on e7. As you have seen in previous example, it's not gonna be great for the side with bishop pair. Obviously, we are gonna try to keep our bishop on the board. The only available square is c6, cause all other squares are taken. The thing is that pawn on f7 is hanging. But luckily, after bishop f7, we have rook h f8 move. And after bishop b3, we are gonna be taking on f2. This is even better for us, because now we removed these f pawns from the board, and this means that pawn on e3 is gonna be a weakness. So it will give us a very nice chances to activate and make stronger our bishop on e7 as well. So for this reason, after bishop c6, white is not supposed to take on f7, but we're gonna be playing f6 or f5 on the next move and keeping our bishop pair advantage. So this endgame is gonna be slightly better for black. Sometimes in order to keep your bishop pairs, you'll need also to take some calculations and see that, for example, like here after bishop f7 we have rook f8 move. This is how important it is to keep the bishop paired, guys. Let's now go ahead to the next position. This is a test for daily lesson the best setup. It's white to move here, and we are having very strong attacking chances because we have already castled, meanwhile black king is stuck in the center. So this means that we need to open up the position as much as possible, and white here is gonna be playing f takes c6, f takes c6, and very strong knight g5 move. We are just gonna be bothering black through its f7 and e6 squares. Knight f7 and knight e6 is a big threat now, so black has to go queen e7 and somehow trying to fight against both of these threats. White can be playing here differently. Rook f7 is leading to a big advantage, but the most and easiest way is straightforward queen h5 check, g6, and bishop takes g6. So after h takes g6, we're not even taking on h8 now, but taking it little differently, playing queen g6 check, taking the pawn. King d8, knight f7 check. And after king c8, knight takes h8, white is up an exchange and a pawn, and as well gonna be bringing other pieces very quickly, creating some dangerous threats for the black king. So white is winning with the beginning f takes e6 move followed by knight g5. Let's now change the position again, guys. This is a test position, guys, for daily lesson, spoiling the pawn structure. It is black to move here. We can be playing differently, trying to play d5, gain some space in the center. We can try even to play a5, because after knight a5 we have rook a8 move. But in all of these scenarios, white is gonna be getting a very playable position. Instead, we have a very nice opportunity here, and this is c4 move. The thing is that after dc4, white is getting very ugly doubled pawns on the c-file. As well, we are able now to play knight e4 and win back the sacrificed pawn. So with this simple c4 maneuver, we are weakening white's pawn structure. After rook d4, attacking the knight and as well keeping an eye on pawn on d6, black is having f6 move, knight d2, knight takes d2, and after rook d2, just playing king e7. So now these two pawns are fixed. Next move, black is going to be playing rook c8, can try to go knight b6 and make a huge pressure on the c-file. So this is a very typical and important idea that you should know in Sicilian pawn structures. Playing c4 on the first move and spoiling the pawn structure, guys. Let's now change the position. This is a test position, guys, for daily lesson bishop pair transformation. Here it's black to move. We're having bishop pair advantage, obviously black is slightly better. We can try slowly push on the queen side, open up some lines, try to play f6, open up some territory here, but instead black is having very strong and concrete option. Black here is able to play bishop a3. Now the pawn on b2 is under attack, and white even cannot go rook d2 because we're gonna play bishop takes b2, rook b2, and rook takes c3. So black will be winning the pawn. And after bishop a3, if white is playing b takes a3, now we're playing rook takes c3. What has happened? We exchanged our bishop with the knight on c3. But instead, we are now controlling the open c-file as well. We are going to be attacking white's weakened pawn on the queen side, probably winning the pawn soon. So, with the beginning bishop a3 move, black is transforming bishop pair advantage into a weakened pawn's advantage, which is now much more sensible because black will be winning pawn in a very near future, guys. Let's now change the position again. Dear chess lovers, this is a test position for daily lesson right mood, right move. In this position, black is threatening to checkmate from g2 square, as well white queen is under attack. So if we try to go back, let's say to queen h3, we are going to be losing our knight on d6. Not an easiest spot, and you really need to be in the right mood to find the right move here. But such a move is existing. White here played in the game knight e4. First of all, we are preventing a checkmate. Secondly, we are attacking with a tempo black queen. So if black takes our queen on e6, we will be taking queen on g5. With this move, white is solving all the problems. But black still has queen g6 move. Now queen is under attack and the knight as well. In the game, white already lost part of the correct move and played queen d7. So after bishop e4, queen e4 and rook fe1, white is having 2 pawns for the piece. Because of king's bad position, white gained some activity and later on managed to win the game. But the thing is that after queen g6, white can still stay in the right mood and play queen e5, rook e8 and very important queen b5 move. White is just keeping an eye on knight on a6, so black cannot take bishop e4 as the knight on a6 will be hanging after bishop takes e4 move. And if black now is playing knight c5, so we cannot take because there is still checkmate on g2. White is having f3 move. At the end of the variation after knight d3, rook d3, bishop e4, pawn takes, rook f1, king f1 and queen e4, white is having rook f3 check and is gonna be keeping an extra pawn advantage. After king g8, white can play queen d5 check as well, trade off the queens and transpose to a rook endgame with a very strong extra pawn. Probably this will be enough to win the game. So one more time at the beginning with knight e4 move after rook f6, white is staying in the right mood and making the right move. Let's now change the position, guys. This is a test for a daily lesson, the helpful king. It's black to move now. White is controlling the h-file and is having space advantage as well. Also, we are sure that our king is never gonna be located on the king side. Meanwhile, the queen side is closed, and it sounds really nice to have black king covered behind these pawns. So the first move here is very simple, king to d7. Black is taking king to the safety to the queen side, and as well gonna be fighting for the h-file. So after knight bd2, black is playing rook h8. White goes rook to g1, and now we have full control over the h-file. As well, now we need to develop our other pieces, and for this reason black is going king c7. Now this bishop is activated, as well we are gaining the d7 square for our knights. Rook b1, rook h3, and after b3 playing queen h8, black is obtaining big advantage. This queen is controlling the h-file, making the control stronger. As well, very importantly, with this queen and bishop power, we are taking away b2 square, and we don't allow this bishop b2 move to happen now. So black is getting the advantage with this king maneuver and bringing queen to h8 square, guys. Very nice and instructive example how important king maneuvers can be even in the middle games. Let's now change the position. This is a test position, guys, for a daily lesson, knight and queen. As we know, knight and queen is a great attacking power. And in cooperation with the knight, queen is always able to create very decisive threats for the opponent's king. In this position, even being piece down, white is on time to create very strong threats. We are playing knight d7 and threatening queen g6 and queen g8 checkmates. Black has to try to cover one of the squares. If black is playing queen b1, of course we can take on g2 and have a winning position, but we have a concrete victory as well. White is playing queen g8 check, king h6, queen h8 check, queen h7, queen f6, and because of this square is controlled by the knight, black is not having queen g6 move. And after king h5, queen g5 is a very strong checkmate. As well, after knight e7, if black is playing bishop e4, we are able to checkmate in the same way. Queen g8 check, king h6, queen h8, bishop h7, and queen f6 and queen g5 checkmate. This is a very big power of knight and queen attacking pair, guys. Let's now go to the next position. This is a test for the daily lesson Paralyzing the Queenside. Here it's white to move. We have double pawns on the c file, but meanwhile, being a weakness, this pawn on c5 is also very strong. It's limiting all black options to develop this bishop and as well develop the flank. So for this reason, white in the first position here is as well playing rook to b6. Queen d6 was another doable option. And after e5, we're playing queen d6, and c takes d6. Now, black's queenside is completely paralyzed. This bishop rook are out of the game till the end. So white's idea is gonna be very simple. White can be bringing the king to this side of the board and even try to climb with it to c7 or a7. It would be nice if white is fixing this side of the board as well with a4, a5 or c4, c5. Rook is gonna get a very nice trip to rook d1, rook d5, and this rook can go to c7, winning one of the pawns. Meanwhile, black is absolutely gonna be out of the counterplay. So in different ways, white will be able to use this decisive advantage and win the game. Very beautiful beginning rook b6 move followed by queen d6, guys. Let's now change the position. This is a test position, guys, for daily lesson exploiting the back rank. In this position is black to move. White is having very active pieces aiming for the king, and if it's white to move, they are going to be able to create very dangerous threats. But the thing is, it's black to move, and suddenly we notice that this first rank is completely naked. There are no pieces. Only piece that will be able to protect this is gonna be rook from f1 square if, let's say, here we will have queen e1 check. But the thing is that now we're playing knight e4 and we're gonna be taking the attention of this knight. So if white takes knight d4, queen d1 is already a checkmate because after rook f1 this rook is no longer supported by the knight. So for this reason, after knight d4, white is not even able to take, and suddenly all of white pieces are hanging now. And especially the rook in f2, which is hanging with a tempo and is not protected. So after bishop e7, when white is taking the piece, we are taking knight f2, and after king g1, we are taking queen d2. Now we are threatening queen e1 checkmate, so that's why black cannot be trapping our rooks, so black is winning here. Very important at such a positions, notice the difference and weakness of the first rank for the opponent. So with knight d4 move, black is just winning, guys. Let's now change the position. This is a test position for SLP bluffing. Here, black is piece down and is completely lost. And here, black is playing rook d2. You may say, what's the trick? White is just taking rook d2 and black has to give up. That's all correct, but the thing is that this is a game of GM Grigoryan during the stream. He was playing 2300 guy and he played rook d2 move saying this is the last chance. The thing is that white is also able to take another rook on f8 square, and that's what's happening. Our opponent was 2300 guy, but he missed that after rook g2 check, after king h1 rook h2, black is gaining a perpetual check. So with these checks, black is making a draw. Sometimes it looks unbelievable, but we shouldn't give up and use all our chances, because something like rook d2 can be saving you a very important point. And in time trouble conditions, any player may make a mistake and didn't figure out which rook is more important to be taken, or many other examples like this. So don't give up too early and use all of your last chances. Let's now change the position, guys. This position is a test for daily lesson swapping on my terms. Here, in this situation, white bishop is gonna be exchanged, so we're not gonna be removing it back, because it will be a waste of a tempo and of a time. So, now if we take bishop c6 and black takes queen takes c6, black king is gonna be very safe, it's gonna be activated to c6, as well followed by some e6 move, black is gonna be able to complete the development. Meanwhile, instead of allowing black to take on c6 with the queen, on the first move, white is playing knight d4. The idea is very simple. After bishop b5 and knight b5, now we have activated our knight. As well, black is not gonna be able to play queen c6 now, because we have knight d6 check because of this pin. And after king d8, knight f7 check, winning a lot of material. So, for this reason, after knight b5, black's only move is gonna be king to d8. And after cd6, ed6, bishop f4, queen b7, white is having many nice moves. We can play queen e2, preventing bishop from development, and being pieced down, white is having a very nice advantage here. Up to the engine, this position is much better for white. Once again, very importantly, at the beginning, we need to bring our pieces close to opponent's king and create different threats, guys. So we're playing knight d4 and forcing the trade on our conditions. So let's now change the position again. This is a test position for daily lesson sacrificing for attack. It's black to move here and we have already sacrificed a pawn. That means we need to use our initiative, which we are having here. Black played g5, g4 and white knight is not in a very comfortable conditions. So here black is playing knight e7 move, which looks more or less quiet. But the idea is after d4 to play knight g6. The thing is, now it's very difficult to decide how to be for white. If white is taking knight g6, we play h takes g6. Now we have this open h-file. Our rook and bishop are cooperating against these pawns. This rook is gonna be under a pin and now we are threatening to take on g3. And as well, if white is going bishop g2, we can take on h2 and take on g3. So white will have some problems. As well, after knight g6, if white is deciding to retreat back knight g2, we keep going with our attack with h5 move. Again, we are threatening to play h4, use the weakness of these pawns and bad position of white rook on h1. So, sacrificing for the attack, black is gaining a huge initiative here on the king side, guys. Let's now change the position. This is a test position for a daily lesson. The king is coming. In this position, black is pawn up, and our pawn on c6 is under attack. If we try to hold this pawn with rook a6, white is going to be playing rook c7, after g6 we'll play rook f7 and make a huge pressure on our pawns. Instead of doing that and playing rook a6, in the first position, black is playing king to f5. The idea is becoming clear after rook c6. Rook c6, rook c6 and king e4. We are preventing this white king from activation, and with our king we are gonna get closer to these pawns. As our pawn is on b4 and it's very much advanced, if we manage to get this pawn on b3, it's gonna be decisive. So after rook c4 check, king d3 and f4, now we are activating our rook with rook e7 move. We are planning to go rook e3, king d2 and take pawn on b3. We don't care about other pawns on the board, because while white will be taking that pawns, we will manage to take the pawn on b3 and promote our pawn on b4. So after rook c5, rook e3, king h3, king d4, black is taking the pawn on c3, which is decisive. After rook a5, black here is even playing rook e7, preventing rook a7 moves, taking care of these pawns in advance, and our next move after rook b5 is gonna be just king c3. Black will be taking this pawn, and because of the king's position difference, our pawn promotion is gonna be much easier. Then white will manage to promote the pawn on the 8th file. So with this important king activation maneuver, black is winning this game, guys. Let's now change the position again. This is a test for daily lesson what's next if we're having material advantage. In this position, everything is very similar, but black is pawn up. And, as you know, if we're having extra material, it's almost always useful to simplify the position and make some exchanges. So here black is going knight d5 and provoking a huge chain of exchanged pieces. Knight e5, bishop e5, bishop e5, rook e5, rook e5 and queen e5. What has happened? Black got rid of a lot of pieces and now it's gonna be easier to use the advantage of the material as well because there are less pieces. White will also have issues creating a counterplay. Meanwhile, in the first position, if black is not playing knight e5, white will manage to get some counterplay on the king side because all of white pieces are aiming actively against black king. So that's why we are playing knight e5 on the first move and simplifying the position. Let's now go to the next one, guys. This is a test for daily lesson designing the knight's fate. In this position, white is having many options. It's very interesting middle game situation. We can be going e5, taking on d5, try to play d4. Many things are available. But if you pay a closer attention to the pawn structure of black on queen side, you will notice this hole. If we allow, black will play a4 and they will be fixing our pawns on the queen side, gaining some space. For this reason, here, white is going with a4, fixing this important square, which can be a nice outpost for our knight in future. As well, black will having big issues creating a game on the queen side, because each time black is playing b5, the pawn structure is gonna be destroyed. So, after castle, white is playing very simply, going e5, and after knight d7, going knight b1. The thing is, in these closed pawn structures, always black's counterplay is on the queen side. Meanwhile, now we're having this square, and as I mentioned previously, if black will try to prepare somehow this b5 move, pawn structure on the queen side will be destroyed. So, after rook a8 and knight a3, white is gaining the advantage, because we are having this very strong and important square on b5. Let's go to the next one now. This is a test position for a daily lesson defending in chess. It's black to move and we're having very much naked king. It's really hard to say how we're going to be organizing our defense. Black is having many possible options, but the most logical and smart one is bishop e4 move. As we mentioned previously many times, whenever you are trying to defend, you need concentration of your pieces next to your king. So from the queen side, this bishop is instantly moving to the king side, and it will be controlling very important squares. After logical rook h5 check, king g8 and queen h6, when you will say black king is obviously checkmated because of queen h8 and we don't have any defenses, black is able to play f6. And suddenly this monster is very strong in defense. Bishop is controlling h7 and g6 squares. And it's really unclear how white is going to be continuing this attack. White is trying to play f3 and take this bishop's attention from these important squares. And after bishop f5, g4 as well. So now this bishop has no any available squares. But luckily we are having tactical option for black when we're activating our queen, playing queen d6. gf5, queen g3 check, king d2 and queen f2 check. Obviously it's not so simple to calculate all of this after beginning bishop e4 move, but sometimes with the method of exception we're gonna be able to figure out the right continuation. Now after king d3, queen f3 check, and king c4, queen d5, black is able to catch white king in a perpetual check. So white king cannot be escaping, and with this beautiful and strong defensive idea, black is able to make a draw, guys. Let's go now to the next example. This is a test position for a daily lesson using chess tactics in defense. Right now, white bishop is under attack. If we try to go bishop h4, white is gonna be losing the piece after g5, bishop g5, hg5, and after queen g5, black can also take on d4. So this defense is not working. And instead of playing bishop h4 on the first move, white should be really creative and find queen d2. The thing is, now we're attacking black queen with our queen with a tempo. If black takes, we're just gonna be taking and having a very playable endgame. And as well, if black is removing the queen, playing let's say to a4, we already made a square for our bishop on e3 and f4. So this bishop now is not going to be trapped, and white just can play bishop to e3, saving the piece. Sometimes it's very important to have a sharp vision and see such a beautiful defensive moves, guys. Let's go ahead to the next position. This is a test for daily lesson improving your pieces. It's black to move now. Obviously, we are having many pieces which require to be improved. But the biggest one is gonna be bishop on e6. First of all, it's not doing much now, just keeping an eye on pawn on a2. As well, white will be playing b3 and completely limiting these bishop abilities. Also, we're having bishop pair advantage, and our trump bishop is bishop on e6, because white doesn't have light squared bishop. And for this reason, this is the piece which requires to be improved. In this position, black is blanking very strong bishop c8 move. There is a pressure for white on this long diagonal, so with the tempo, we are going to be activating our bishop. After rook fd1, bishop a6, queen c2 and rook a d8. Now this bishop is a very strong piece, it can't be limited by white pawns. As well, now we're controlling this d3 square, and we're planning to use it with our knight or a bishop. So with this simple bishop transfer, black is gaining so much benefits, instead of having it passive on e6 square. Let's now go ahead to the next example. This is a test position for defending in chess daily lesson. Black is having an extra piece, but king is in a very tough conditions. Obviously, in such situations, we should try to surround our king with our pieces. Now white is threatening bishop h6, checkmate. So, for this reason, we need to get some extra square for our king. We're playing rook e7 and gaining e8 square for the king. If white is playing rook e7, we just take king e7. Next, we're going to be putting our rook on e8, f8 or h8 and play king d8, running away with our king. If after rook e7 white takes queen g6, we have bishop d4 check and we're winning the queen. So rook e7 is a very creative move, and white is forced to attack with bishop h6 check, king e8. The thing is that now queen g6 is with the check, so we're not having bishop d4 check on our own. We're going king d8, but after bishop e3, when white is trying to save the queen, we still have very strong bishop d4 move. The thing is that now we're going to be trading off a lot of pieces and eventually going to be saving our king. As after queen c6, we can take on e3 with a tempo and only then take back. And if white is playing queen g8 check, we are having king c7. Now white queen is under attack because of our rook on a8. So again, we are going to be surviving this. And if white plays queen g3 check, we are having bishop e5 move. So everything is under control, and black managed to escape with the king, guys. For this reason, the beginning rook e7 move with further king maneuver is very important. If sometimes you don't know how to defend with your king, probably the best choice is just to run away from the active part of the board. Let's now go ahead to the next example. This is a daily lesson test, don't resign in a winning position. And as well, this is our last example for the February month. In the last position, white played rook g6 and black decided to give up, because it seems like rook h6 threat or taking the queen is unstoppable. But this is called don't resign in a winning position, and black missed a very beautiful but at the same time very simple opportunity. So black here can be playing knight d5, so there is no longer rook h6 checkmate threat. And after rook e6, black is able to take knight d3. Now we are threatening knight f4 check, winning the rook, queen, and the king is gonna be under a check, so it's a huge tempo. Rook is under attack now, and it can't be stopping this check on f4 because f6 and e4 squares are covered. The last option left is gonna be rook takes h6 check, and you may say, wow, we're gonna get checkmated. So after gh6, queen h6 is checkmate. The thing is, no guys, we are having g takes h6, and it's a check because white king is located on g2. So after this check, king f1 and the rook g6, black is getting a winning position because now we have rook and two knights versus the queen. We have many comfortable squares for our knights, and we will be making a huge pressure on white's position. So basically black gave up in a winning situation, guys. So this was the last video for our coverage of the February. GM Gabuzian was here with you guys. Thank you for your likes, subscriptions, and sharing this video with your friends. We appreciate it a lot. See you next time during our next daily lessons.